What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Got a really good one for you today. This is going to be all about the Season 5 Reloaded long-range meta. I actually built a new tool that's not live on TGD yet, but will be soon, and I'm going to use that in this video to show you guys what I think, at least for me, is the meta. So this is going to be really cool. It's going to help you guys out. I think it's one of the best features I've ever built. It does require a little bit of work on your part, which is probably going to make a lot of people not do it, but we'll get into it. I'll show you all that. As always, this video is available 2 days earlier to True Game Data Premium subscribers. I release all my videos currently 2 days early in the YouTube early releases on the website. So if you're a subscriber, you can get access to this 2 days early. You can get email notifications. And obviously, if you're a subscriber, you get all the other features, and you'll get this new feature that I'm going to cover in this video once I release it. Backend's finished. I don't know how long it'll take to get the front end built out to show it and actually get it to you guys, but it's pretty awesome. So let's jump straight into it, and we will talk about the Season 5 Reloaded long-range meta. So to start with here, we're going to look at MetaGen. So MetaGen thinks that the M13B is the meta for Season 5 Reloaded. It has really good time to kill in that first damage range after all the buffs for this patch, and it's a pretty accurate weapon. TAC 56 is also up there as well. So you see it's in second place in the Crimson spot. So 9.93, basically just as good as the M13B according to MetaGen. Has really high bullet velocity as well because you've got the muzzle plus the barrel here. And then Tempus Razorback is in third, so we got kind of a lower recoil meta. All three of the top guns, according to MetaGen, are lower recoil options. Sakin MG38 in fourth place, the RPK in fifth place, and then the Kastov 762 in sixth place. So I think this is a great place to start with understanding what meta is for you. But then this new feature that I've been talking about is going to take this to a new level. So how you actually have to do this is we're going to use the firing range in-game to get an accuracy percentage for probably the top 5, top 6 weapons for you specifically. So you'll have to launch into the game and you'll shoot the furthest target dummy like 5 times, and it shows you the accuracy percentage from that. And then the tool that I built is going to extrapolate that for every damage range and calculate a true TTK for each weapon for you and really give you just instantly what is the best. So let's jump into the game. I'll show you how to actually do this. So like I said, just take those top 5 builds from MetaGen. So for me, it was the M13, TAC 56, Tempus Razorback, Sakin, and RPK. And take the top build for how you've set up MetaGen to run for the way you like to play. And then build them out in-game. So this is the TAC 56 that MetaGen spit out from the default calculations, which I built. So those are basically my weightings are already in there. So this is the build. Basically, you're just going to jump into firing range. And first thing you have to do is step into the front to get the accuracy to pop up in the top left. The accuracy doesn't start unless you step up here. But I want to note here, so when you're standing all the way up in the front edge, there's a ton of muzzle smoke, like the lighting's like right above you, and it just makes it really hard to see the target. But if you step back here, I like this little corner spot because it's consistent. You can just stand in this corner. Muzzle smoke is much reduced. So this is more like what it's actually like in game when you're firing the weapon. So this is the spot I like to test from. But one thing I want to note here really quickly, so the accuracy is shown up in the top left. Now I've taken a few shots just to show you guys the muzzle smoke. If I actually shoot the target, you see my accuracy is only 11%. So you need to be very careful when you're doing this that you're not taking any extra shots. You're just doing exactly a repeatable test where you stand in this exact same spot and you don't take any shots besides at the target. So because my accuracy is screwed up, I'm going to leave the firing range. I'm going to go back into the firing range. And you're going to want to make sure that your dummy is set up to 3 plates. Mine already is just because I was showing this earlier. So first thing is I'm going to walk up here to get accuracy to turn on. I'm going to step back into my corner. And then I'm just going to take shots at this dummy and try to control the recoil and hit as many shots as I can. So this gun's obviously very accurate for me. I just hit 80% of shots. That target is at 55 meters. When you're standing back here, it's 50 meters from the front, but about 55 from back here. So I just want you to do that like 5 times. So shoot all the way until the target is downed, like 5 times with each weapon. So that was my first trial. So I'll just keep doing this. So I just killed it there. That was still 80%. Wait for it to come back. 76.09. So that's the cumulative total accuracy, not just the accuracy of this individual trial when you're shooting the dummy. So it's the total of all 5 runs. So I do it again. 75.8. And then one last time to get my 5th accuracy included in there. So 75.64 was my average for the TAC 56. So like I said, with tunings and with the best build that MetaGen spit out, do that for like your top 5 weapons. And in the future, we'll have a place to save this number on TGD for you. So you can do the thing I'm about to show. But for now, just record that number somewhere, whether it's in a spreadsheet or on your phone or even just handwritten somewhere. Just save that percentage that you were with each shot or with each weapon for those 5 trials. Now, after you've gotten those accuracy percentages for those top 5 weapons and top 5 builds, I would just add them to your comparison. So you can just click the little plus on MetaGen, add them to your comparison, and then go look at the comparison. Scroll down to the combination TTK chart. And from this, you can kind of look at approximately like around 55 meters. So some of these weapons are going to have drop-offs right at 55 meters. And in those cases, I would say basically just use the average of the drop-offs. Obviously, this is inexact. This is before I get the feature out. We're going to go over the feature in a second, which is going to fix all these problems. But for now, I would just look approximately at the time to kill at 55 meters. And then you can multiply by that accuracy that you got, and you'll just instantly know which weapon is going to have the best time to kill for you at that range. That's pretty simple, but it is a lot of annoying steps. So let's jump over to my spreadsheet where I'm going to show you how I actually did this. So I did this for like 5 of my favorite weapons. I took the 5-shot accuracy average, put them in a spreadsheet, did all kinds of crazy math. So basically what this does is it takes your accuracy, this feature that's going to be on TGD, it takes your accuracy from 55 meters with that build. You'll plug it into TGD. It'll basically run a simulation on that and take your accuracy and extrapolate that out to all ranges. So it's going to go from 0 up to, you know, probably like 90, 100 meters or something like that. It'll simulate how many shots would hit and where they would hit. So it'll simulate different shot locations and see what the most likely TTK was based on your accuracy, assuming you were aiming at the chest the whole time. So you're always trying to hit the chest pretty much. Pretty much everyone is aiming at the chest. So I do statistics to take your accuracy and convert that into standard deviations. And then I can use that standard deviation to basically create a spread and change the size of the target and get the accuracy at all ranges and the number of shots that hit every single hitbox at all ranges. And then from that, we can get a real TTK at every range, given you just do that test and get that accuracy value. So that's the process I went through, and that is what these lines are. So we've got the M13 in blue, HCR in this like pinkish color, brown is TAC 56, green is RAP H, orange Kastov 545, and then I don't even have any clue what to call that color, but whatever this color is, the Tempus Razorback, and then this importance curve I'll talk about in a second. So basically looking at this, you can see that all these weapons come out in a very, they're very close for the most part with those variable accuracies, because it tends to be that the more accurate weapons have worse time to kill, and vice versa. So looking at this, the importance curve basically is what I think it's kind of like an estimated percentage of engagements at each distance. So like we get the range on the x-axis here. So from like 25 out to about 50 meters is where I think most engagements happen with your long range weapon. Obviously some happen before, some happen after. So that's why this importance curve isn't 0 outside 25 to 45. It's just less than what it is in that 25 to 45, 50 meter range. So some engagements with your long-range guns still happen up here, so they still get some weighting in this final calculation that I'm going to show you. But basically what this does is at every distance x along the distance of whatever you want to define yourself. So for this one, it's like 0 up to like 90. The TTK for each weapon at each meter is multiplied by the importance of that, that importance value we just talked about at each distance. So right here, a value is much less important. So even though it has a really good number, this is going to be multiplied by less of an important number. But then if you have a really good time to kill in like 25 to 50 meters, that's where most engagements happen. So that's really important. So you're going to have a good TTK multiplied by a good importance. That's going to weight your weapon towards being better. So that's kind of how this all works. Just looking at this really quickly though, you can see that the M13B in blue from like 20 out to 40 is kind of winning. So we got this blue line here. It's winning right there. But then it has a really bad damage drop off around 40 meters. So then it jumps up here and you can barely see it just because all these weapons are pretty close, but so it's really good through here. And then it has that damage drop off, and through here, even though it's a really accurate gun, the TTK is much worse than like the TAC 56, much worse than the Kastov 545 and the RAP H. but it does have that really good time to kill and good accuracy. So inside that 40 meters before that drop, it's going to be really good. But then we can see a clear winner out at long range for me was the TAC 56. My accuracy percentages for each of these weapons is next to it. You can see that I was very accurate with the TAC 56, and accuracy, as we know, is king, but this also tries to put numbers to that. So using that accuracy at 55% and then extrapolating out for all the distances, you can see everywhere past about 38 meters, the TAC 56 had the fastest time to kill for me, the fastest true time to kill for me, even though it has really bad actual time to kill. The true TTK incorporating that accuracy was very good. And again, you can see the damage drop off. So like where it jumps up a bunch and then the TTK gets much worse, that because you got a little bit longer, accuracy is going to be a little bit of a factor there, but also the damage drop off does make that TTK worse still. So this is a much more realistic way of looking at time to kill than what's on TGD. And I've got all the code written for this already. I used it for this. So hopefully in the next week or two, we can get this out to you guys. And this will be by far the best way to figure out what long range weapon you should use, because individuals are different with recoil. Some people might control the Rap H better than I control the Kastov 545. It sounds crazy, but that's just true that some people control recoil differently than others. Controller makes a difference versus mouse and keys. And this is a way to kind of bring that all together and give you a real time to kill. One last thing though, this importance. What we can do is we can multiply, like I said, the TTK by the importance value at all X values, and then we'll get one singular TTK value that gives us basically, you know, which one is going to be the fastest time to kill across all of the ranges, incorporating that importance. So let's look at that. Like I said, if we weight those time to kills according to that importance graph, where we multiply the TTK at each meter by that importance value, and then divide by the total number of segments, it's basically doing calculus on the time to kill across the range. We've got the most important range being from about 20 to 40, 45, 50 meters, somewhere in there. And then just tapering off towards about 120 meters was 0, and 0 meters was about like, I think it was like 40% important or something like that. So with those values for importance, which I don't know how customizable that'll be on TGD, but we can maybe give you a few different options. Obviously for different maps, like certain maps shift engagements closer, so small maps have more importance on that like 20 to 40 range, and then Mazrah is going to have more importance on like 40 to 80. So we can potentially provide a few of those. But the weighted TTK, or the true TTK for these weapons across that range, for me, I got the TAC 56 at 1129 being the best, followed by the M13B, followed by the Kastov 545, then the Tempus Razorback, Rap H, and HCR 56. So even though the Rap H has a fantastic time to kill everywhere, I just don't hit enough shots with it. And that's what the value of this accuracy feature is going to bring, is that, you know, I've always thought that I loved the Rap H, but now that I see that I really can't control the recoil very well with it, as well as I thought I could at least, it's just not accurate enough to be competitive with something like a TAC 56. Like the true TTK was 200 milliseconds on average worse with the Rap H, even though it has better damage, better fire rate, things like that. So that's the value of this. So now that I've shown you guys that, I think for most people, the vast majority of people, because I'm pretty good at controlling recoil, or at least I thought I was, TAC 56 is going to be the meta just because you're going to hit the most shots with it. But you should definitely do this test for yourself. Get those percentages, those accuracy percentages, put them in a spreadsheet, and then look at the approximate DPS, or the approximate time to kill at that range, and then you can kind of get your own value for what the real TTK would be at that range. So I think it's a pretty cool idea. This is going to be crazy once I actually implement it into TGD. You can use it in combination with MetaGen to really truly find your meta, which was the whole point of MetaGen. So the combination of the two features is going to be crazy. But let's get into the tunings for you guys. So jump over to the game here. M13B is in first, so we'll start with that. Even though it didn't win for me, it was close. So jump over to game capture here. So this is not the build that MetaGen spit out. It's one attachment different. Basically, I have the barrel instead of the FTAC Ripper. It was like the 5th best build for MetaGen or something like that, but this is just my preferred build here. You get a little more bullet velocity and a little bit more actual recoil control than with the underbarrel, but you're gonna have worse aiming stability, obviously. So that's the one big downside there. But tunings here: Komodo heavy, plus 0.36 recoil stabilization, minus 0.19 aiming stability. For the barrel, plus 0.39 recoil steadiness, and then plus 0.4 damage range. It's very important to have damage range on this gun just because the drop-off is so significant. High velocity ammo, recoil steadiness minus 1.74 grain, and then recoil smoothness on the vertical minus 0.27 grams. For the optic, I do flinch resistance just because I don't ever want to get flinched, and then close versus far is just personal preference. Close is going to have worse visual recoil, but a better sight picture, and then vice versa for far. On to the TAC 56. This is the one that I was using. This is my favorite build for it, and this is the build that MetaGen spit out. So we got the Echoless 80, Tundra Pro barrel, AIM-OP optic, 60 round mag, and FTAC Ripper. I think this is probably the meta for, at least for me, for Mazrah. If you're playing the small maps, something that kills a little bit faster, maybe Kastov 762, Tempus Razorback, things like that that kill a little bit faster in that first damage range. M13B obviously would be fantastic there because it has great time to kill inside about 40 meters. But for big map, I think this is probably going to be the meta. So Echoless 80 tuning all the way towards recoil smoothness on the vertical, and then plus 0.58 inches on bullet velocity on the horizontal. Plus 0.16 pounds towards recoil steadiness on the vertical, and then plus 0.09 inches towards damage range on the horizontal. For the FTAC Ripper underbarrel, we have plus 0.57 towards recoil stabilization, minus 0.19 towards aimed walking speed. And then the AIM-OP, we've got plus 3 towards flinch resistance, and I didn't tune it for close versus far. Personal preference there, do what you want. For the Tempus Razorback, this is also a fantastic option. I think, the third most accurate with this of all the weapons, so pretty good there. You can see that this build actually has iron sights, so we replaced the optic with the tanker barrel. This is it has really good iron sights, but if you're someone who doesn't like iron sights, you can swap the barrel for an optic, but these iron sights are actually very good. Like, very, very clean sight picture overall. So that's totally up to you, but I'm going to leave the barrel on there just because the optic tunings aren't important. So for the barrel tunings, plus 0.11 towards recoil steadiness, plus 0.1 towards damage range. For the muzzle, plus 0.67 towards recoil stabilization, and then plus 0.09 towards recoil control. DM Proto Grip's basically a FTAC Ripper on steroids, so it just has a bunch more horizontal recoil help than the FTAC Ripper, which is perfect for this gun. So minus 0.1 towards aim down sight speed. You could tune this for recoil stabilization if you wanted a little bit more help with the recoil. So the optimal point there would be plus 0.33 towards recoil stabilization. Then minus 0.25 inches towards aimed walking speed. It's similar to the FTAC Ripper, where it seems like tuning for aiming stability doesn't seem to do much. High velocity tuning, plus 0.36 towards damage range, plus 4.94 grain towards bullet velocity, and then that's it. And this gun's pretty solid. It's one of my favorite choices for sure. On to the Sakin MG38. So this is what I would recommend. I believe this is the same build, just with one attachment different that MetaGen spits out. So I think that the Sakin could still use a little bit of vertical recoil help, so that's why I used the leveler instead of the UI LR8 that MetaGen spit out, but they're basically the same. It's like a few percentages different. So looking at the SA leveler, we've got plus 0.62 towards recoil stabilization, then all the way towards recoil control on the horizontal. Ruin Warrior LMG, again, is kind of just a better version of the FTAC Ripper. So we've got all the way towards recoil stabilization, then minus 0.4 towards aimed walking speed on the horizontal. High velocity ammo, minus 0.348 grain towards recoil steadiness, and then minus 0.43 grams on recoil smoothness on the vertical. For the laser, we've got all the way towards aim walking steadiness on the vertical, and then plus 44.42 zeroing distance on aiming idle stability. So if we jump into the range real quick, this thing has very wobbly recoil, but very little actual recoil. So after the first few shots, it's pretty dead on accurate. It does kind of move around more than it used to, but it's still very, very easy. There's very little like actually pulling down on the mouse. It kind of just sits in the same spot. On the RPK, this was the 5th place weapon according to MetaGen. It is in a pretty good spot here. So we got the TY LR8 muzzle, FTAC Ripper, high velocity ammunition, Demo X2 rear grip, and then AIM-OP V4 optic. Tuning this, the muzzle is all the way towards recoil stabilization on the vertical, and then plus 0.19 inches for recoil control on the horizontal. FTAC Ripper, we're going to go plus 0.41 towards recoil stabilization, minus 0.27 towards aim walking speed. For the high velocity ammunition, we're going to go plus 2.9 grain towards bullet velocity. RPK cut a big nerf to its bullet velocity back in the early days when it was like highly meta. So we're going to tune for more bullet velocity, when sometimes we would probably tune for recoil depending on the weapon. minus 0.29 grams towards recoil smoothness on the vertical. For the rear grip, we've got plus 0.48 ounces towards recoil steadiness and plus 0.33 inches towards aiming idle stability on the horizontal. Optic, flinch resistance, and then close first as far as personal preference. Jumping into the range, this gun's very accurate as well. It's ridiculously accurate for like the first 10 shots, and then it kind of starts wobbling all over the place. But even so, it is still a very accurate option overall. You can see it just, the first few shots are like all in the same spot. And then after that, it starts going left to right, left to right, left to right, but it's still very, very usable, very accurate, and definitely a good choice. On to the Kastov 7.62. This is a crowd favorite. A lot of people love this weapon right now. The thing that holds it back is that it's hard to build it with enough recoil control and enough bullet velocity, so you kind of have to make a trade-off there. So this is close to the MetaGen build. We swapped the muzzle for the bore 490 instead of the TY LR8. I think MetaGen put a little too much weight on the fact that the recoil is kind of angled, and it tried to kind of fix that with horizontal recoil help. But yeah, bore 490 is going to help a little more with the vertical. So we have the bore 490, the CAS 10 584mm barrel, FTAC Ripper, 40 round mag, and AIM-OP V4. Looking at the tunings, bore 490, we are at plus 0.44 ounces towards recoil stabilization, plus 0.15 inches towards recoil control. Barrel, we've got plus 0.35 pounds towards recoil steadiness, and plus 0.4 all the way to the right for damage range. FTAC Ripper, all the way towards recoil stabilization, then minus 0.32 inches towards aim walking speed on the horizontal. And optic, flinch resistance as always. If we take this into the firing range, it's one of the less accurate options for me, I would say. But it's not terrible. It's not terrible, and I know a lot of people really like this weapon. It has very straight recoil, so it is definitely possible to learn how it's going to wobble. But for me, it's just not my favorite. But it has a very fast reload time, which is one of the big benefits. Even though it has a 40 round mag, it definitely has a fast enough reload time that you can get away with using it. All right, guys, I'm super excited for this new feature to come out. I think it's going to be as game-changing as MetaGen, specifically because you can take MetaGen, take the builds MetaGen spits out, get your accuracies with them, and then instantly know which weapon's going to be the best for you, pretty much. You can still factor in movement speed, ADS time, reload time, all those things that are still important yourself, but I think it's just going to be crazy. So MetaGen might actually implement this someday. I might try to get those accuracy percentages if the player has them. If your account has them saved on TGD, we might be able to get something where MetaGen actually looks at your accuracy as well. But that's going to be a ways down the line if we get that implemented. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. We've got M13, Tag 56, Tempus Razorback, Sakin, RPK, Kastov 7.62. Got builds for all of those with the tunings in this. Rap H, honorable mention. Rap H is great, has a fantastic time to kill. It's one of my favorite weapons. It tied the Kastov 7.62 at 9.82. So I mean, these are all super close. So anything within like 0.2 on MetaGen is going to be excellent. And even besides that, Kastov 545 is still really good. So all the way down at 9.7, we've got weapons that are still really good. So it's basically, that's why this accuracy thing is going to be so important, because it's such a personal decision which weapon to use. I think this is going to be just a huge feature for people. But hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.